I'm Rene alongside Andrew, Merivale's winemaker here at our state vineyard on a beautiful Napa Valley day. We're going to taste 13, 14 and 15 vintages of the Saint Helena Cab. So without further ado, I think we'll jump right in and talk a little bit about the wines, the vintages and this beautiful site as well. So
yeah, super excited to taste these wines today. It's a Friday and it's gorgeous outside and the breeze is nice. So let's get going. 13, 14, 15, really interesting vintages. Of course, 13 and 15 more drought years. 14 was more of a historically kind of a classic vintage, but really great representations of Napa Valley Cabernet as a whole and great expressions of our beautiful profile estate vineyard that you see here behind us. So what these wines are a selection of some of our favorite blocks of Cab and Cab Franc and Petit Verdot that come off of the estate every year. Every year, there's no real rhyme or reason. We ferment each lot in small batches, very artisanally done, kind of classic Bordeaux style, and then we wait 6 months and a year and we taste, and that's when we come up with the blends, the things that we just feel like showcase the vintage the best, I think, to say.
well said. Well, let's taste them. Let's start maybe with the older one, the 13.
Let's go with the 13.
Which I think some of you may have heard me say this before. I love cabs. I love hillside fruit. I love mountain fruit. Small berries, intense concentrated wines. Napa Valley has the consistency of the climate, the terroir, as the French would call it. Obviously, the weather, the climate, the soil, the topography, if you will. This is an outstanding site that we ended up purchasing about 25 years ago now, and it's in its prime. As you mentioned, we make 2 wines from here, the profile, but also the Saint Helena Cab. So 13 is a vintage that is going to be a long-lived vintage, in my opinion. It's still got ways to go. It's still an infant,
Yeah.
as I would characterize it. But 8 years old now is starting to really kind of open up the tannins, start to soften a little bit with time in the bottle. So I think this is a keeper. If you get this trio, you should probably drink the 14 and the 15 now, and then maybe hold on to the 13 if you can hold on. Most people can't, which I don't blame them. I can't either, so I'm a big Cab lover. I drink other varietals as well, but so let's taste it.
Yeah, absolutely. The 13, of course, a drought year, so a shorter growing season, intense concentration of the fruit. So to Renee's point here, the mountain vineyard, we have 3 kind of adjacent ridges, and then we have elevation changes, as you can kind of see behind me. So we have different exposures and orientations. We have morning side sun, we have afternoon side sun. We have different clonal selections and different rootstocks planted in different locations. Of course, Napa Valley, to Renee's point, has all these soils. Of all the known soil types in the world, the Napa Valley contains half of them, which is crazy to think about. And then you have all the different microclimates on top of that. And here on our vineyard, where we have 18 kind of discrete blocks planted in different orientations and exposures, we even have our own microclimates in here. So the 13, to kind of stop rambling, the 13 being a drought year, we still have incredibly balanced wines. To your point, they're tannic because it's a concentrated year.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised. Sorry to interrupt, but I'm actually surprised how well it's drinking since the last time I've had it, probably 6 months to a year ago. And really coming around, you still have nice acidity, nice freshness, nice tension in the wine.
Really bright.
Food friendly. All our wines typically are, but you can also enjoy it like we do here today. So let's jump in the 14 here. This one is in a beautiful spot right now.
Yeah.
To
I love
drink.
I love the 14s. 14 had a little bit more rainfall than 13 did, so as a consequence had a little bit of a longer growing season, more mild climate, I would say, than 13, not necessarily as hot in the condensed amount of time. And so you see kind of more of the subtle nuances of the vineyard, a little bit more layered wine to me than the 13 right now. Not to say the 13 won't get there, but the 13 is still so tight.
Yeah.
The 14 is a little bit more expressive and generous right now.
Yeah, a little more luscious too in the mouthfeel.
Silkier tannin, I feel like, broader.
More, broader, exactly.
For sure.
Beautiful wine, for sure. All 3 of those are 80-85% Cab, with the rest being a little Petit Verdot and Cab Franc. I think one may have a touch of Malbec, but yeah, 15. Let's try the 15 here.
The 15, another kind of similar to the 13, where it's a shorter growing season, a little bit more compressed, but at the same time, you still had a lot of vine balance in 15. It wasn't necessarily like it was a huge issue. It was a little smaller fruit set and more of a condensed growing season, but still, I think really nice.
Maybe a little reminiscent to 2021 this year also.
It seems early days.
I remember like 15 being a shorter or smaller crop, due to the cooler temperatures we had during the bloom, which is not totally dissimilar than this year. We've had a little bit of an uneven maybe set, I would say.
Right.
But every year is obviously, every growing season is different. But as far as the style of this wine, I think, in my opinion, the 15, even though for you it has some, as far as the growing season, some reminiscence to the 13, to me in style it's a little bit closer to the 14.
I would totally agree with that.
Riper a little bit, beautiful, without being over ripe, of course. So
yeah, I think it's a really nice, came from different blocks off of the vineyard too. But I agree with you in terms of growing season. It's similar to the 13, but in terms of style, it's more close to the 14. And I take your point on the 2021 vintage too. I see that there's going to be a lot of parallels between between the 15 and this vintage coming up. But at the same time, like, that's a beautiful wine. It's gorgeous. It's got more concentration, I feel like, than the 14. But at the same time, the lusciousness of the tannin, the silkiness of the tannin, the length of the finish, it's all right there. It's a spectacular wine.
And as far as this year is concerned, we're in the middle of it, so we're not home yet. But certainly look for those wines, look for the offer, and enjoy. Cheers.
Cheers.